Hello, everyone. Hey, hey. Oh my gosh, we got to fix the camera. Okay. Welcome to our December monthly Q&A. I'm very excited to be here today. We've got some great questions lined up. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. For anyone who is here watching live, if you've got questions or comments as I go through these, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Oh my goodness, I want to pop up just a few links real fast. The first, and this is actually for next month, but just so y'all have it because we did change it. The first is if you ever do have questions here in the membership, you can submit those at megkwheeler.com/QA, as in Q&A. And I want to remind everyone that next week is our hot seat. It's our last hot seat of 2020. Very excited for that. You can grab your spot for that by going to megkwheeler.com/hot seat. And just as a recap, if you haven't done the hot seat before, the hot seat is an opportunity for you to get some one-on-one coaching from me. Depending on how many people sign up, you might get 15 or 20 minutes. You might get the full hour. That's what we slate to be there for. Just depends on how many people sign up for it. You can also watch the hot seat. So if you want to check it out, or if you just kind of like hearing what other people are asking about and working through, you can absolutely watch the hot seat. You don't need to sign up for one if you don't have a personal challenge that you want to work through. And you can always watch our calls, whether it's the hot seat, the Q&A, the workshop, whatever it is, you can watch them by going to megkwheeler.com/monthly calls. This is our private YouTube channel just for the membership here. Please don't share this link. This is just for members of the group. And you can access all of our calls there. But again, if you want to sign up for the hot seat, megkwheeler.com/hot seat. So go ahead, sign up for those so we can get some folks. I don't think we have anyone on the calendar right now for next week. So I'm going to check real fast here, but I do not think, nobody's signed up for next week yet. No, we're still a week out, so that's not unusual. So please go ahead and sign up. I'd love to get you on the call for next week, okay? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got some great questions here. Just as a reminder, I just made up a word, okay? I didn't mean to do that. Just as a reminder, our workshop for this month was how to create profitable offers. So if you didn't get a chance to watch the workshop, it's in your member dashboard on Kajabi. It also, you can access it by going to megkwheeler.com/monthly calls. Again, that's our private YouTube channel. So however you like to watch it, or you can watch it in the Facebook group. So you've got 3 options to watch any of our events here in the membership, but definitely check out that workshop. Our questions today, I think all 3 of our questions relate to that workshop. To be clear, they don't have to. So if you've got a business money question that has nothing to do with the workshop of the month, that's okay too. Go ahead and submit it. But today, I think all 3 of ours are related to the workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in. Again, this month's workshop was all about how to create profitable offers. And one of the things we talked about, I'm leading into the first question here, one of the things we talked about in that workshop was how to actually allocate your costs or your expenses so that you can calculate what your projected profit is on any particular product or offer or service. So this first question here relates to that. And the question is, do you include Facebook ads in your overhead or direct costs? So for anyone who hasn't watched the workshop, just a really quick recap here. We've got 2 cost buckets. We either have direct costs, which are costs that are specifically related to producing or delivering one product, one service, one offer. So if I, the example I always give, if I make notebooks and I have to buy the paper and I've got to buy the fabric for the cover and the cardboard, those are direct costs. They specifically go into making the notebook. On the flip side, overhead costs, or sometimes people call these operating costs, would be things like your office rent or your website subscription, things like that. Things that don't specifically benefit one product or service, they benefit the entire business as a whole. So the question is, do you include Facebook ads in either the overhead or direct costs? I use them to get people on my list and then to buy my course. I also offer coaching, but I don't use Facebook ads to get coaching clients. Okay, so this is a great question. And I want to give, just shook everything. I want to give one big caveat here before I answer this question. I'm going to answer this question in the context of doing your profit calculation. So how profitable is your course and how profitable is your coaching, right? The answer I'm going to give you is the wrong answer if you are following like true accounting rules, okay? And the reason I bring that up, it probably isn't going to matter to anyone, but the reason I bring that up is a bit of a CYA, because I just want to make that super clear that so the answer kind of per the accounting rules would be that no, Facebook ads are a marketing expense. That's an overhead expense. You cannot directly tie marketing to one specific product or service. So even if it's advertising that product, because you can't know for sure. Somebody could see that ad for that, for the notebook and come to my shop and decide that they actually want my productivity course. And so it wouldn't make sense to say that Facebook ad cost was a direct cost because of the notebook, because the person didn't end up buying a notebook, right? So from an accounting rules perspective, no, Facebook ads would be overhead costs. Here's the thing. For the purposes of what we're talking about today, which is calculating the profitability of an offer, one of the things we talked about in the workshop was you're going to get some expenses. Labor is a really great example of this, but there could be other ones. You're going to get some expenses where it doesn't make sense to allocate that expense to all of your different offers on sort of a proportional basis. So in the workshop, what I teach you is if you've got overhead costs, that you're going to allocate those costs to each of your offers or your products based on the percentage of revenue that offer or product brings in. It's a decent approach, but it's not necessarily the best approach if you have an overhead expense that maybe isn't a direct cost of one offer, but maybe benefits some offers more than others. So the example I gave, and this is not a huge expense, so I probably wouldn't go to the effort of getting super specific about this one, but the example I gave was Kajabi. I spent about $150 a month on Kajabi. Kajabi supports my course. It supports my membership. It supports my freebies. It doesn't support my coaching. Actually, I lied because we just switched everything over. And in 2021, it will support my coaching in the sense that coaching clients will have access to stuff on Kajabi. But up until this point, it didn't. It just supported my course and my membership. Coaching clients had no interaction with Kajabi. So it wouldn't have made sense for me to allocate those Kajabi expenses to the course, the membership, and my coaching, because I'd be allocating costs to my coaching that really weren't costs of the coaching. So in that case, and I think I give this example in the workshop, I said basically you'd allocate the Kajabi expense to the course and the membership and not to the coaching. This is where I think you might be with your Facebook ads. But I have a caveat at the end, but I'm going to say it and then I'm going to reverse myself a little bit. The reason I say this is where you might be at is if you really are spending a good chunk of change on Facebook ads to bring in people for one component of your business, in this case, your course, then yes, it makes sense to allocate those Facebook ad costs to that component so that you can truly calculate the profitability and the return on value of those Facebook ads and of that course. My question though for you would be, can you honestly say that nobody who ends up signing up for your coaching comes from those Facebook ads? My guess, and I could be wrong, but my guess is that you may have people in your community who see one of your Facebook ads, sign up for one of your freebies. They get on your email list. Maybe they're on your email list for a while. Maybe they buy your course, but maybe they also decide I'm not really a course person, or I prefer one-on-one, or whatever. I'm not ready for this. This isn't what I need right now. So they stay on your list. And then you email your list a year from now, maybe, whatever it may be, and you want to talk about your coaching program. And they say, hey, that's what I need. And they sign up for your coaching program. They originally came to you from your Facebook ads. So if you can honestly say that not a single person in your coaching program has come from your Facebook ads, then yeah, you can absolutely allocate, or not allocate, but treat your Facebook ads as a direct cost of your course. But my guess, and I think this is going to be the case for most of us in our businesses, my guess is going to be that you can't honestly say that there are people who ultimately buy your coaching who probably came to your business for Facebook ads. And this is why, to sort of circle it back, close the whole loop here, this is why Facebook ads, a marketing expense, tend to be considered overhead expense, because it's near impossible to allocate those specifically to one product or offer or service, and really trace exactly where the sale came from and prove that the sale didn't come from somebody who saw a Facebook ad and got on your list. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's my suggestion to you. So if it were me, I would probably just allocate them to overhead. I probably wouldn't allocate them to direct costs. Again, unless there is a clear divide and unless treating them as overhead costs and allocating them proportionally based on revenue is going to skew my answer, then that's what I would do if I were you. Cool? All right, great question. So the next question, and this question's got a little bit of a backstory, so let me pull up the backstory here. Okay, so I am trying to allocate my labor costs, but I'm not sure what to do for the hourly wage. So by the way, just like we talked about with the Facebook ads or with any other expenses, one of the things I talk about in the workshop is allocating your overhead costs to each of your products or services. And then the hourly wage piece that this person's talking about is part of that formula is actually calculating an hourly wage so that you can effectively say, okay, if my course takes me 10 hours a month to do, and my hourly wage is $50, then I'm going to allocate $500 of my income, my salary, even if you don't pay yourself salary, my owner's pay, whatever it is, I'm going to allocate $500 to my course. So that's why the hourly wage matters. I want to be clear, if you haven't seen the workshop, this doesn't mean the hourly wage that you charge your clients. It doesn't mean the hourly wage that you want to be paid. It doesn't mean your value or your worth. This just means when you take all the money you pay yourself in the year, that you actually pay yourself in the year, divided by the number of hours you worked, that's your hourly wage. Okay, so I'm trying to allocate my labor costs, but I'm not sure what to do for the hourly wage. This year, 2020, I tried to pay myself between $2,000 and $3,000 each month, but then ended up going on unemployment in June and have been able to pay myself only a little bit here and there since then. My business has started to pick up, so I think I will be able to pay myself next year, but I'm not sure how much yet because I'm still waiting on a few clients to confirm they're moving forward. This is a great question. So first of all, this is a really great question because this, I think, has happened to a lot of people this year where they went into 2020, their business was, looking like it was going to be on the upswing, it was going to be great, and then the COVID-19 pandemic hit. A lot of people ended up on unemployment, and there's no shame in that. I want to be very clear about that. So I think this is an absolutely great question. So here's what, let's just take a step back. And again, if you saw the workshop, I apologize because I'm doing a mini recap here. But what I say to do in the workshop is I say to either take what you paid yourself last year or what you estimate you'll pay yourself this year. Now, if last year's number is pretty close to what you think you'll pay yourself this year, then use that. If you had, maybe you were only in business for 2 months last year, or maybe you took half the year off or what, or maybe you didn't do that last year, but you're gonna do it this year, whatever. If you think last year's number isn't reflective of what you're gonna pay yourself this year, then you're gonna estimate what you're gonna pay yourself this year. You take that number, that annual number, divide it by the total number of hours you worked or expect to work, and that gets that hourly wage. And then again, you're gonna allocate, if the course takes me 10 hours a month, 10 hours times the hourly wage. If the membership takes me 20 times the hourly wage, and so on and so on. So in this case, the challenge here, and I say challenge, it's really not that big of a challenge. I've got an answer for you, don't worry. But the challenge here is, if you look at 2019's, if you look at in going into 2021, if you look at 2020's owner's pay, which you paid yourself, it's not really going to be reflective, hopefully, of future years, right? It's not going to be reflective of 2021 because 2020 was such a unprecedented year. And as you said, you paid yourself in the beginning, then you went on unemployment, then you were trying to pay yourself. So kind of all over the place, right? So in this case, what I want you to do is I want you to estimate for 2021. And I know this is hard, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I want you to kind of wipe out 2020 and don't worry so much about using 2020 as what's the word I'm looking for? As sort of an example of what, or a baseline, if you will, of what 2021 is going to look like. Now, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean that I think you ignore some of the lessons and observations from 2021. So I've got a client, for example, who is in retail. 2020 was a tough year for retail, right? So I would never tell her, hey, ignore what happened in 2020. Do your 2021 projections, as if 2020 never happened. I would never tell her that because there's no question. The pandemic's still going on. There's no question that that her business, her retail business, is going to be affected in 21. So I'm not telling you to completely ignore it. But what I really want you to do is I want you to think about 2021 and what is realistically going to happen. Now, you said in this case, you think you're going to be able to pay yourself. That's great. It sounds like you've got some clients finally coming in. You're not sure how much yet because you're still waiting on a few clients to confirm they're moving forward. Here's what I'd like to see you do. Instead of letting the question of whether or not you make X dollars next year rest on whether or not this handful of clients confirms they're moving forward, how about you set that as a goal? And how about you tell yourself, I'm going to hit that goal. I'm going to make that number. Whether or not this group of clients says yes, if they say no, I'm going to go out and find more clients. Because here's the worry that I have in the way this was framed is you're waiting with bated breath to see if these people say yes. And if they say no, it sounds to me from this question like you're just going to say, oh well, okay, I guess that means I'm going to make, this number versus that number. And maybe that's not the case. But that's why I want you to reframe this. And instead, I want you to say, I would like to make X next year. And when I'm talking about what you would like to make, I'm talking about both the take-home pay that you pay yourself, but also the profits in your business. I want you to sit down and figure out what that number is. And then when you figure out that number of what you'd like to pay yourself, that's the number that I want you to then use for that hourly wage when you're allocating your costs. And to be clear, I'm not suggesting, look, I'd like to pay myself $1 million every month. Obviously, I'm not going to use that number. That number does need to be realistic, and it needs to be something that you feel comfortable with based on where we're at in this pandemic and how that pandemic has affected your business. But the thing I will also say, and this is for every single person listening right now, I think what was so tough about 2020 for so many people, well, lots of things were tough, but one of the things that was really tough is that we didn't see it coming. So many people didn't have savings accounts, many people, and to be clear, that I'm not blaming people. We have massive systemic inequalities in this country and in this world that lead to that being the situation. But this pandemic started and nobody knew what to expect. Nobody was prepared for it. Nobody knew how long it would last. Nobody knew how hard it would hurt, how much it would affect us, right? We're now getting a sense of what this is like. And there's still a lot of uncertainty, no question. But we're starting to hear about a vaccine. I want to be very clear, things are still really, really bad, right? Okay, so I'm not trying to downplay this at all. Things are still really, really bad with the pandemic. But I think we're starting to get more answers. And so the beauty in that is that going into 2021, you have a better sense, or let me rephrase, you're more prepared than you were coming into 2020 for what ultimately happened. So I want you to sit down. I want you to figure out what those numbers are. What are the profits you want to make in your business? What number do you want to be able to take home for yourself? And then use that to allocate your costs as you're thinking about the pricing for your products, services, and offers. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, last question here, and then we'll wrap it up. And we also, I think we have a backstory here too. So yes, we do. Okay, so did I get the right question? Yes. So I did the profit calculation, and my membership is technically more profitable, but I'm having trouble getting people to sign up. I also do done-for-you services, and those are less profitable, but I seem to have a steady stream of clients that are helping to pay the bills. Should I stop taking on those clients to focus on the membership? Great question. So what you were pointing out is, and I apologize if I didn't mention this in the workshop, which it's entirely possible I didn't. But what you were pointing out is the profit calculation. And again, for anyone who hasn't watched the workshop, this is the calculation we do to determine if a past project was profitable or if a future product or offer, something we've got out there right now, is profitable. The profit calculation is not the final answer. What the profit calculation does, and what this person's talking about is if you have multiple offers, multiple products, multiple services, you want to run the profit calculation for each of them. And then you want to compare and say which one is more profitable. So the example I always give is, and I actually had a client where this was very much the case, but the example I always give is, I had this client a couple years ago who did, let me see if I can remember the facts now. So she had coaching, she did one-on-one coaching, and she had a course. Her course was $500, and I think her coaching package was like $2,500, $2,000, I can't quite remember. She came to me and she said, I don't understand. I'm making six figures, but I'm so burned out. I'm barely able to pay myself. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Um, and what we did is we did a basic profit calculation. Now, the course was on Evergreen. It had already been pre-recorded. There were no live elements, I don't think. So it was very, very simple for her to deliver. It was basically just plug and play, right? But she was doing Facebook ads to get people in the course. Her coaching was very high touch. I mean, it was hours every month. She had VIP access, she had Boxer access. It was all these things, right? So it took a lot of her time to deliver. So when we sat down and we actually did this profit calculation and we factored in the cost of her time, which she had not done before, I forget the exact answer we got, but it was something like the course was 95% profit and the coaching package was, I don't think she was losing money, but it was like very, very low, like maybe 10% profit or break even or something like that, right? And the reason there is because her coaching took up so much of her time that when she had sat down and done her pricing for her coaching package, she never factored in the cost of her time. So here she is thinking, this is a great price, but in reality, it wasn't very profitable at all. Now, in her case, she was able to just increase the amount of money she was spending on Facebook ads because her Facebook ads were working pretty well. She had a good conversion rate, and that got more people in her course, and that really helped her kind of shift to selling more of a course and less. She didn't get rid of the coaching. She liked the coaching, but she raised her price a bit. She didn't lower expenses in that sense, but she actually took herself out of it a little bit. So she offered less of her time. She realized that some of the time she was offering just wasn't that value added. And so she still does some coaching, but now she's significantly more profitable across the board because she's got more people buying her course, which is very profitable. And she's got, she's structured her coaching package in a way that is more profitable in general. Now, in your case, what you're saying is, okay, technically on paper, my membership is more profitable than my coaching, but the clients I'm getting right now, they want to do the coaching. They don't want to do the membership. So I have a couple of questions for you. And this is a great hot seat thing. So whoever asks this question, sign up for a hot seat. I'd love to have this conversation. The first question is, are your people being offered both? Are they being offered the membership and the coaching, or are you marketing the membership to different people in your coaching? So keep saying coaching. Sorry, you said done for you services. What I mean by that is, I do a little bit of coaching. I do some tax prep stuff and all that. I don't really heavily market that stuff. So, I have people coming to my membership and my course, but I would never sit there and say, well, they're choosing the course or the membership over my coaching. Because in reality, I really only end up doing coaching when I start developing a relationship with somebody and that becomes clear that makes more sense for them. So that's my first question. My second question is, have you surveyed your people? Have you either sent them a survey or gotten on calls with them, with a handful of them, to say, is this membership something that you want and would benefit from? That's the second question. Because if it's not, that may be why your membership isn't selling. My third question, and I'm rushing through these because we don't have a lot of time, but my third question would be, well, how are you marketing the membership? Are you marketing it at all? Or did you just stick up a sales page and hope that people notice it when they go to your website? Because if you're not doing a ton of marketing around it, that may be why. People may not realize you have a membership. Okay. And then my fourth question is, did I already ask this one? We talked about survey, talked about marketing. Right. My fourth question is, how are you doing on the messaging of your membership? So are you messaging it appropriately? Are you really hitting the pain point of the person who would be the perfect person for your membership? Are you really helping people understand the transformation they're going to get in the membership? And you can learn how to do that through those surveys, through those calls with your ideal members. So that's kind of the fourth question to ask yourself. So the first one is, are you offering both options to people and they're just choosing the course? The second is, what was the second? It'll come to me. The second is, are you surveying your people? Do you know that a membership is really what they want? The third is, are you actually marketing the membership? And the fourth is, how is your messaging on the membership? So what I would do if I were you is I would spend a little bit of time and I would block off some time on my calendar to kind of work through those 4 questions I asked. And I would probably do multiple times. This isn't going to all happen in one sit down. Work through those questions. I would not abandon the coaching right now. If the coaching is profitable, meaning if it's bringing in, you're not losing money in your business, you're making money in your business and you're able to pay yourself and your bills because of the coaching, or I'm sorry, the done for you services. Sorry. I would keep that going for now. Maybe you think about starting to scale that back slowly. And this is actually another point I want to make for everyone. If you do this profit calculation and realize, wow, this thing is so much better than this thing, it doesn't necessarily mean I want you to go cold turkey stop this thing. Because again, I said this before, but the profit calculation is just one piece of the puzzle. There may be intangible benefits. The example I gave in the workshop is I'm considering doing an event at the end of next year. Now, this event, we're not structuring this event to be a profitable event. We're not going to make a ton of money on this event. But the purpose of this event would be multifold. Number one, to deepen my relationship with my people and to serve you all. Number two, to grow my community, to grow my email list, to bring more people into the fold. And number three, because I will have an offer at that event for something else that I would love, you to join. And I'll make money from that, but the event itself, it's not a guarantee that people will buy that offer, right? So if I just did the profit calculation for that event, I'd be like, no, I'm never going to do this. This isn't making me any money. But there are intangible benefits to that event that go beyond just the numbers. And so that's why I never want you to just quit something cold turkey unless it's not something you want to do. What I'd rather see you do is phase it out. So if you really do want to phase out your done, and actually, let me take a step back. Do you want to do the membership, or do you want to do the done for you services, or do you want to do both? If you like the done for you services, then you don't need to get rid of them by any means. Let's just figure out a way to make them more profitable for you, whether it's increasing price, decreasing expenses, decreasing the amount of labor that goes into it. If you do want to get rid of the done for you services, or you don't mind decreasing them, then I would phase them out. And so I would say, okay, maybe maybe this client's contract is coming up for renewal. Maybe I'm not going to renew that one. And I'm going to take those hours I spent on that and instead use them to market my membership, to survey my people, to really deliver value in that area to get more people in there. But I want to see you make a slower transition, one that doesn't cut off your life source, which is paying your bills, especially right now with all the uncertainty going on, but one that is focusing on where you're going to get better bang for your buck. Cool? All right, friends, that's all we've got for questions for today. Thank you so much for submitting those great questions. As a reminder, we have our hot seat next week. Go ahead and sign up for that by going to megkwheeler.com/hot seat. And I will see y'all next week. I'm fairly certain, let me give you the date and time. I'm fairly certain it's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Yes, Wednesday, December 16th, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is our hot seat. I will see y'all then. Bye.